Friends, I am very pleased to have finally got an opportunity of sharing a few thoughts about teaching the faith in Japan with you. Teaching is the most meritorious service, as we all know, each one of us can render to the cause of Baha'u'llah and to humanity. I would like to begin with a bit of an introduction. Let me begin by saying that the fact that religion has always been concerned with the ennobling of character and the harmonizing of relationships, and has served throughout history as the ultimate authority in giving meaning to life, is generally accepted by all. That in the past religion has been a force propelling human development is well documented. Indeed, it would be difficult to think of any fundamental advance in civilization that did not derive its moral trust from religion. Yet the reputation of religion has suffered a great deal in contemporary society. Today, a negative impression of religion is widespread. Among many people and leaders of society throughout the world, there is a deep mistrust of religion. And yet there seems to be no commonly accepted answer to this question, that if the great world religions have in the past been among the prime forces effecting social progress, why then is religion at the present time increasingly set aside as an effective element in shaping the collective life of humanity? The Baha'i writings provide explanations that fair-minded observers may find helpful. Among them are the following. The school of materialism has distorted people's perspective of life by falsely prescribing the acquisition of material means as the way to solve all the problems faced by humanity, thereby encouraging consumerism, promoting irreligiousness, and eroding appreciation for the relevance of divine guidance to human progress. Religion, on the other hand, has condemned materialism without being able to address the failures that have left masses of people exposed and vulnerable to its influence. Religion, whose very reason for existence has been to serve the cause of kinship and peace, has behaved all too frequently as one of the most formidable obstacles in this path. Religious institutions have often been a source of discouragement to individuals who seek to explore reality using their intellectual faculties. The spread of superstitions in the name of religion, or the holding to religious convictions that do not submit to impartial testing by scientific methods, have solidified an assumption in the minds of many that religion conflicts with science, which has by itself created the illusion that one must choose between the two. Within the endeavor of the age of collective maturity of mankind, people actually see that each of the religions of the past was revealed centuries ago and in periods best described as the childhood stage of the collective life of humanity. Each is basically shaped by the framework of its holy book and its teaching and the historical context of the time in which it appeared. All have been heavily affected by man-made doctrines and ideas. Each of them now has different and even contradictory sects, none of which are capable of responding adequately to the demands and the dictates of modern life. In addition, corruption, oppression, cruelty, and the widespread injustices perpetuated in the name of religion act as additional reasons for people to view religion as distasteful and objectionable. This is, friends, the basis for the concept of religion that comes to people's mind when they hear the word religion. The yardsticks formed in their mind to assess the value of religion are all based on the experience of religions revealed during the collective infancy and childhood of the human race. This concept of religion, at the time when humanity stands at the threshold of its collective maturity and has experienced significant progress in the fields of science and technology, does not appear as relevant to life, and many are puzzled by the confusion that exists over religion. Japan is no exception, where a portion of the population seems to have a mistrust towards religion. Some look unfavorably upon those religions that have not been in the country for millenniums, and the majority maintain an attachment to the old religious practices conducted in the name of Japanese tradition. What are the implications of this situation for teaching the message of Baha'u'llah in Japan? We know that Baha'u'llah has not brought into existence a new religion to stand beside the present multiplicity of sectarian organizations. Rather, he has brought a conception of religion very different from those holding sway in the world at large. Two aspects of this new conception of religion are clearly identified by the Universal House of Justice. One is the recognition of religion as the potent force propelling the ever-advancing civilization, and the second is that such a civilization would also not appear spontaneously of its own accord, and it was the mission of Baha'u'llah's followers to labor for its emergence. A labor that includes working with anyone attracted to his vision. Should this new conception of religion affect the presentation of the faith in Japan? And to what extent? As part of reading realities in your circumstances, let us first consider the language used by Abdul Baha and Shoghi Effendi to describe Japan and Japanese people. And I quote, Abdul Baha says, Japan has great capacity, and its inhabitants are bright and noble-minded. They are not prejudiced and are endowed with great capability. The enlightened people of Japan, he says, are tired and disgusted with the old and deteriorated blind imitations. They are assured that these blind imitations are pure superstitions. Shoghi Effendi says the Japanese people have great vision and spirituality, and the difficulties of the last war have prepared many of them for the divine guidance. Given the exceptional capabilities of the Japanese people as attested by Abdul Baha, it is my personal opinion, confirmed by my recent experience, short and limited, yet pleasant and rewarding as it was, that a wise and a loving presentation of the new conception of religion revealed by Baha'u'llah will prove to be an effective method of teaching in Japan. The Japanese people, who possess so many spiritual qualities and have the gift of logical minds will, I am confident, not only respond well to humble presentations of the new conception of religion, but will also go beyond just appreciation and think deeply on the implications of such truth for themselves and for their country. Indeed, it's quite possible that many Japanese, once they hear the new conception of religion as revealed by Baha'u'llah, will take the opportunity to reflect individually and in their families, and drawing upon their talents and qualities, will come to see that the message of Baha'u'llah is worthy of serious investigation, as it has the potential to assist them to face the challenges of their lives. Such presentations will surely be more effective when they are made with clarity and openness, explaining some of the inherent meanings, subtleties, and implications of each principle, and relate them to some of the inner individual and collective challenges with which they may be struggling. For this to be effective, it will have to be aimed at sharing the message of Baha'u'llah in its purest form. And by its purest form, I mean not in our own cautionary manner, often adopted to avoid our perceived misunderstanding that people are not or may not be ready for it. But let's talk about the two aspects of the new conception of religion as explained by the House of Justice. That religion, being a force propelling an ever-advancing civilization, may not be readily understood by everyone, and the offering of some explanations may be in order. The beloved guardian, using the analogy of a human being passing through its stages of infancy, childhood, adolescence, and maturity, talks about humanity's gradual progress towards its collective maturity as being demonstrated by its moving towards unity, symbolized by formations of families, tribes, city-states, and nations. You're familiar with this. He then states that humanity has now reached a point in its collective development analogous to the age of adolescence and maturity of an individual, and that the world unity is the next natural phase of this progress. This explanation creates the context to explain that the aim of religion of God for the age of maturity of mankind, that's the message of Baha'u'llah, is the establishment of an order that will culminate in a united world, and that such a world order can be founded only on an unshakable consciousness of the oneness of mankind. Religion today is a force to empower the peoples of the world to work together towards rearranging the collective life on this planet based on the principle that the earth is but one country and mankind its citizens, and on the concept of unity in diversity of the entire human race. An example of how the way of presenting a Baha'i principle can affect the nature of response from the seekers may help to shed light on what I'm trying to convey here. When sharing the principle of progressive revelation as part of the new conception of religion, for example, if it emphasizes mostly to see all the world's religions as stages of one unified system of God's revelation, as true as that point of view is for a Baha'i, the result for some people may be the common objection that the fundamental difference between the revealed religions makes the acceptance of their oneness unreasonable. But when the explanation includes the unity of religion in the context of humanity's gradual evolution from infancy into adolescence and maturity, highlighting the need for an ever-advancing civilization, and outlines some of the reasons for the deterioration of past religions, highlighting the need for spiritual renewal. It helps to open the minds of the hearers to a number of ideas. The oneness of religion can be clearer for people by testifying to the truth and sacredness of each of the past religions and the foundational role each has played, emphasizing the need for the renewal of religion as a boost to the force propelling civilization forward, as well as for receiving divine guidance that takes into account the current stage of humanity's evolution. This can then be followed by an open statement of the implications of progressive revelation by the present generation and the responsibility of individuals to investigate the message of God for the present age, which represents nothing less than the inception of the collective maturity of mankind. Such presentations using the Baha'i writings can help those struggling with the prevailing confusion about the multiplicity of religions to find ways of reconciling the relative truth of the past religions to which they are attached with its inability to respond to the needs of humanity today. An individual at one of my public talks on this matter in Japan has written to one of his friends along these lines. He says, after listening to the talk on the gradual progress of humanity, on the harmony between religion and science, and after interacting with you all, I feel as if I have finally come to a rudimentary understanding of the Baha'i faith. I have investigated many religions in the past, but I was never completely convinced by any of them. I had felt that something was also off about the Baha'i faith. But today, I understood the true nature of my feeling of uneasiness with religion. I realize now that the reason I have not been able to accept religions of the past as applicable to me today is because they were revealed for the early stages of the development of human race. I also became conscious that I had been looking at the Baha'i faith with the yardstick formed in my head by religions of the past born thousands of years ago. The religion of God that has progressed gradually and is given to us today in the name of the Baha'i faith cannot be understood using past religions as a yardstick. Now, after the talk regarding the teachings of the Baha'i faith again, I realize that everything is closely connected to each other. I feel very fulfilled. The problem is how to convey this to others and society and spread it. Such presentations are likely to assist many not to see the Baha'i revelation just as a progressive social movement, or at best the religion of social good, but as the spiritual guidance from our Creator to the human race as it enters the age of its collective maturity. People need assistance to face the challenge of living in a day when a new manifestation of God has appeared. Such an awareness, one hopes, will inspire the hearers not to dismiss the Baha'i revelation, but rather to investigate it with sincerity. Another element of the new conception of religion is the principle of harmony between science and religion. But we should appreciate that a simple introduction of this principle, based on what is well accepted by the Baha'is, may not be seen by others as possible, since the current conception of religion and the yardstick by which religion is assessed could well act as formidable barriers to even a rudimentary understanding of this profound principle. People need assistance to appreciate that neither religion nor science alone will be sufficient to bring about the well-being of mankind. Both are essential, and their harmony is a reality as explained in the new conception of religion. In this regard, it is necessary to emphasize the importance of having the capacity to differentiate between the revealed words and man-made ideas propagated in the name of religion, and to appreciate the fact that the true meaning of the special stories of past scriptures can only be understood through a new revelation from God. They will also have to learn to distinguish between science and the personal views of individual scientists. People need help to appreciate the Baha'i descriptions of science as the discoverer of realities, and that science is of two kinds, material and spiritual. Material science being the investigation of natural phenomena, and divine science being the discovery and acceptance of spiritual virtues. This will allow them to reflect on the wisdom and the beauty of religion and science as two independent but complementary sources of knowledge for human progress, and that true science and true religions indeed are in harmony. With a deeper understanding of the subject, they will see the Baha'i view that material and spiritual science are the two wings of human uplift and attainment, and both are necessary. It was heartwarming to experience a deep appreciation for this principle by the Japanese people, who, with their astonishing advancement in science and technology, appear to have kept an appreciation for a balance between material and spiritual life. They are bound to take great joy in seeing that the frustration stemming from the conflicts they experience between the use of science and the prevailing cultural practices rooted in religious beliefs of the past can be overcome in the light of the message of Baha'u'llah. Baha'u'llah's clarification of issues such as the nature of God, our Creator, the various levels of existence, who the manifestations of God are, what the nature and the responsibilities of human being as the distinct species on this planet are, what are the relationship between God and the manifestations of God, and what forces are propelling human's progress, are the examples of other topics that may help people to appreciate the Baha'i descriptions of science as the discoverer of realities, opening the way to understanding that religion without conflict with science is a light that illuminates the path of human progress. Emphasis on the new conception of religion would also have an empowering impact on Japanese minds, and a more appreciation by skeptics of religion when they are afforded even a glimpse of Baha'i vision for the way the three protagonists of human progress, that is, individuals, communities, and institutions, should function in their pursuit of that civilization. A vision in which individuals acting with freedom of thought and action supports the community to develop its collective capacity for operating in a posture of learning through an evolving framework for action. An action that encourages the friends to be methodical but not rigid, creative but not haphazard, decisive but not hasty, careful but not controlling, recognizing that in the final analysis it is not technique but unity of thought, consistent action, and dedication to learning which will bring about progress. In doing so, the friends take care to remain free from the fruitless search for a rigid formula for action while still allowing the insights gleaned in diverse settings to inform progress as it takes a particular shape in one's own surrounding. This is the vision we are talking about, a vision in which members of institutions selected in a manner free from prevailing election noise and clashes guide the affairs of the community in a spirit of humble service. A vision in which, by spreading a culture of friendship and concord, love and cooperation among all, everyone endeavors to create an environment conducive to learning and to the nurturing of this process. The results being communities functioning without the institution of the priesthood and free from any individual dominance and superiority, diverse and united, operating within the principles of the equality of women and men, fully aware of the importance of family life and paying a special attention to the spiritual education of children. They will appreciate this pattern of community life in contrast to their view that organized religion in the past has been merely shepherding masses of humanity. Whatever the content of a presentation of the new conception of religion, it should, in my opinion, aim at assisting people to realize that the religion Baha'u'llah has brought is not a congregation they are to join, but rather a new way of life, and it is their responsibility to learn how to live that life. It should aim at invoking in individuals the sense of responsibility and the ability to become participants in building that way of life. Such a way of life, my experience suggests, is actually the aspiration of the noble people of Japan. And we know that it is the destiny of the whole mankind to live that life. The introduction of the concept of capacity building and the role of the institute process becomes very natural in this context. The presentation of the new concept of religion will without doubt be more helpful if it highlights that for this way of life to be built in an organic manner, Baha'u'llah, in addition to articulating the vision and a path for achieving it, has established a system comprising all that is needed to enable mankind to reach its destiny. That his system is also the agency through which the building of individual and collective capacities required to translate his revelation into reality takes effect, a system the proven efficiency of which is well recorded throughout the past 100 years of the history of the Baha'i faith. Abdul Baha, appointed by Baha'u'llah as the authorized interpreter of his words, elaborated the details of this system and explained how we are to shoulder our responsibilities to fulfill Baha'u'llah's vision, highlighting how the system has adequate provisions to enable the Baha'i community to remain among the most progressive movements of civilizations and modernity. Learning how to offer such presentations can be the focus of many reflections. In its Rizwan 2021 message outlining the success of the Baha'i community since 1996 in several areas of activities, including teaching, the House of Justice points to the capacity to bring the wisdom contained in Baha'u'llah's revelation to bear upon the challenges of the day, to translate his teachings into reality. In your case, This would entail the capacity to illustrate how the wisdom contained in Baha'u'llah's revelation is so very relevant to the current challenges faced by the inhabitants of every cluster in Japan. It is the nurturing of exactly this capacity that the institute process and the courses of the Training Institute aim at. This is why learning a more effective language by which to invite people to the institute process is surely a top priority in every cluster in Japan. Each cluster should have a clear idea of how the friends are learning the most effective ways of inviting people from the wider society to the courses of the Training Institute. Paragraph 4 of the message of the House of Justice dated 30th of December 2021 helps us to answer the question of what do the Baha'is do at the grassroots. Presenting it to wider society can help people perceive the new conception of religion at work at the grassroots. Indeed, most people in the world today not only agree with the Baha'i principles, but also see their highest aspirations fulfilled in the implementation of these teachings. Remember that a good percentage of such people are likely to respond positively if we learn how to extend to them an invitation to participate in the Institute courses, so as to become protagonists in the process of translating these principles into reality. Once the people hear the promises of the Baha'i writings regarding the fact that the Japanese people are destined to play a significant role in transformation of the world, it will bring them great joy to know that following their significant material contributions to the betterment of the world, their spiritual contribution will be the greatest of their bestowals to the well-being of mankind. Now, after this rather long introduction, let me now talk about the act of teaching. One can argue, friends, that without effective teachings, the implementation of the 9-year plan is not possible. At the start of the 9-year plan, the House of Justice said the accomplishments of the previous series of plans, talking about since 1996, could not have occurred without a tremendous advance in the teaching work. At the heart of the Institute process, the House of Justice says, you remember, must lie a sound and steady process of expansion that includes a range of teaching efforts involving both activities undertaken by individuals and campaigns promoted by the institutions. The cluster agencies everywhere, regardless of what milestone they have reached, will do well to ask themselves this question: what does it take to have a sound and steady teaching efforts in the cluster at all times? Surely they will conclude that simple acts of announcement and encouragement to teach will not be adequate, as important as these are. What are then some of the practical issues to be addressed, and what are the many requirements to be met if a culture of teaching is to be gradually flourishing in a cluster? For instance, some friends may find it easier to participate in a collective teaching efforts before taking their own initiatives, while others may feel more comfortable being engaged only in individual teachings or forming teaching teams. Both approaches are important and should be encouraged, supported, and highly valued. The concept of cycles of growth, with its necessary organizational, preparational, and follow-up work, should naturally receive a justifiable amount of attention in each cluster. But there will be many friends who may not know how or may prefer not to organize their individual teaching efforts in cycles. How will such friends get the regular encouragement, support, accompaniment, and the recognition for their work? Are, for example, statistics of individual teaching efforts collected and reported to the community? Are the friends who themselves are not serving as tutors, but who teach the faith, aware of how to assist their seekers, contacts, or their new declarants to a study circle? Is there a system in place to make literature needed for individual teaching accessible at the cluster level? Is such literature subsidized so as to make it available either free or at a very low cost for all? What are the spaces to reflect on the most effective teaching methods under a given circumstances? Clearly, as stated by the House of Justice, teaching the faith embraces many diverse activities, all of which are vital to success, and each of which reinforces the other. The guidance of the House of Justice for teaching the faith using different approaches is straightforward. Whether in their personal efforts they teach their friends in firesides and then involve them in the core activities, or use these activities as their primary instruments for teaching, these are decisions that can only be made according to the circumstances and possibilities of the friends and the nature of the population with whom they interact. Within this context, it is clearly of crucial importance for every devoted follower of Baha'u'llah to realize that, with all the vital emphasis placed on the core activities, non-involvement in them does not exempt a Baha'i from the responsibility of teaching the faith in other methods he or she wishes to pursue. The House of Justice couldn't have been clearer on this matter. It says, while it is highly desirable to include seekers in study circles wherever possible, the individual retains the inescapable duty to teach the faith on his or her own initiatives. Clarity on this matter is very important. As early as 2004, the House of Justice noted that it should be clear that the House of Justice is not calling on the Friends to forego all activities except devotional meetings, children classes, and study circles, and now we can add junior youth, in their efforts to attract people to the cause. Through a variety of endeavors, including regular firesides, seekers should be helped to reach the point where they eagerly embrace the faith and join the Baha'i community. Yet it is equally evident that the core activities of the plan are proving to be an excellent means for the Friends everywhere to widen their circle of influence and share Baha'u'llah's message with a growing number of people from different segments of society. There are surely more detailed issues that will need to be addressed for a cluster to move forward in having a sound and steady process of expansion. Who are the ones that follow the progress in this field regularly, and what is the space wherein to reflect on this single issue? There is a strong logic as to why we should constantly teach the faith to people. Abdul Baha emphasizes that the development and progress of a nation is according to the measure and degree of that nation's scientific attainments. Through this means, its greatness is continually increased, and day by day, the welfare and prosperity of its people are assured. Consequently, science is taught at all schools. Everyone is aware of it, making use of it one way or another. Some becomes interested in it to the degree that they further pursue attaining knowledge of it and even work for its progress. And this is how the benefits of science reaches everyone. If scientific knowledge is not spread among people, the world will not progress. The House of Justice reminds us that the message of Baha'u'llah is God's guidance for mankind to overcome the difficulties of this age of transition and move forward into the next stage of its evolution, and human beings have the right to hear it. Those who accept it incur the duty of passing it on to their fellow men. It's in the context of the betterment of the world that, again, in the words of the House of Justice, the responsibility of the Baha'is to teach the faith is very great. It is in this context that we can understand better Shoghi Effendi's saying, "Let us arise to teach his cause with righteousness, conviction, understanding, and vigor. Let this be the paramount and most urgent duty of every Baha'i. Let us make it the dominating passion of our lives." What are the implications of the fact that the paramount and most urgent duty of every Baha'i, without exception, is to teach the faith? Could it be that regardless of our circumstances, every one of us is obliged to teach the cause one way or another? There is a pilgrim note from an individual who spent 9 years with Abdul Baha in Akka. He has written along these lines: "The Master would repeatedly say, were it not for the safeguarding of the most holy shrine, I would have traveled and teach the faith. And after the ending of his imprisonment, he said, I have to spread the teachings of God around the world." And this note adds, saying that once Abdul Baha felt the shrines were safe, he made plans to do exactly that. Teaching the cause according to Baha'u'llah's instruction is the only obligation for Baha'is, that if one cannot perform it directly, the believer should support someone else to do it on his behalf. And this is, as we know, the basis of the deputization fund. Can it be true that feelings of inadequacy and lack of courage may cause some people not to take individual teaching initiatives? In this respect, in its Rizwan 153 message to the Baha'is of the world, the House of Justice gives us this reassurance. Regarding the sense of inadequacy that sometimes hampers individual initiative, a letter written on his behalf conveys the Guardian's advice. Unquote. Chief among these, you mentioned the lack of courage and of initiative on the part of the believers, and a feeling of inferiority which prevents them. It is precisely these weaknesses that he wishes the friends to overcome, for these do not only paralyze their efforts, but actually serve to quench the flame of faith in their hearts. Everyone is a potential teacher. He has only to use what God has given him and thus prove that he is faithful to his trust. The history of our faith, and I have no doubt whatever that there are many such cases in Japan, attests to how anyone who has arisen to teach the faith has been the recipient of divine assistance in overcoming his or her shortcomings. One such inspiring story is that of Lua Getzinger. Abdul Baha told Lua that she must exert every effort to be like Tahere, who was afire with the love of God. Lua protested, saying that this was simply beyond her. I am too weak, too filled with faults. If I pray to be like Tahereh, God will know that I am lying. But Abdu'l-Baha told Lua that she must pray and try. He advised her to pray to God to be like Tahereh, who had broken with the past, cast off the veil, and brought the new message of God to the attention of the world. Lua, with absolute love and humility, did her best to obey Abdu'l-Baha. And Lua became one of the most eloquent teachers of the faith. She later confided in one of her friends that Abdu'l-Baha has promised her that she would have a special gift of eloquence bestowed upon her. All Lua had to do when teaching the faith was to rely completely to the strength of her faith, turn to Abdu'l-Baha and speak. Abdu'l-Baha did not fail her, nor will he fail any one of us who turn to him for such support in our teaching efforts. Can the greatest obstacle to individual teaching be our own focus on our personal limitations and weaknesses? The Baha'i writings call upon us to cease looking at our own deficiencies, to have confidence in the divine assistance promised by Baha'u'llah, and strengthened by these assurances to continue to labor vigorously until the very end of our lives. In this regard, when he was visiting Paris, the beloved Master offered this counsel. Look at me. I am so feeble, yet I have had the strength given me to come amongst you, a poor servant of God who has been enabled to give you this message. One must never consider one's own feebleness. It is the strength of the Holy Spirit of love which gives the power to teach. The thought of your own weakness could only bring despair. In Japan, you have every freedom you need to serve the cause. The heartfelt desire of Japanese people is to have a harmonious, cooperative society. You have wonderfully spirited Baha'is and loving and capable institutions to guide and support your endeavors. As Baha'is, not only do you have the responsibility to bring the revelation to the attention of your fellow citizens, but you are also in a unique position to serve the people, to assist them to achieve the desire of their hearts. The key is to make the teaching work and the community building activities the focus of your individual and family lives as called for in the 9-year plan. Every follower of Baha'u'llah in Japan wishes to exactly do that. More individuals and more time are needed to ensure the uninterrupted advancement of the process of growth in every cluster. The main challenge, as I see it, is that a larger number of people need more quality time that they can devote to teaching the cause. It is vital that many more individuals recognize that the progress of the plan in their cluster is their personal responsibility. The progress of the plan in our cluster must indeed be the preoccupation of our lives. When one of the children in a household is ill, his or her health becomes the preoccupation of the parents, who will make whatever change in their lives are necessary to heal their child. Many of the Baha'is in the 50s and in the 60s made the progress of the plan the preoccupation of their lives and responded to the needs of the 10-year crusade by sacrificially rearranging their way of life in order to meet the needs of the plan. surely the most effective solution to meeting the needs of the current and future plans is to significantly increase the faith's human resources. The sustainable way to do this is to teach the cause, work diligently, strengthen the training institute, and to raise an ever-increasing number of human resources by facilitating larger numbers from among the inhabitants of the cluster to participate in the institute courses. But to get to such a stage, more time and more sacrificial efforts is needed from within the existing community so as to ensure that the institute process in every cluster ascends to a higher level of effectiveness. But we could ask, what could be the common challenge for giving more time to serve the cause? Is it possible that inevitably our lives are unintentionally influenced by assumptions prevalent in the society in which we live? The dominant culture says rest and recreation are very important, endorses the pursuit of what benefits us personally, and promotes wealth as the main contributor to a happy life. However, Abdu'l-Baha, our perfect exemplar, advises us not to rest for a moment and praises hard work and hardship in the path of service to the cause, seeing it as a source of true joy, and encourages us to follow him in this path. The world at large promotes the acquisitions of wealth to its maximum, and yet for we Baha'is, wealth and income are necessities that enable us to live a life of service to the faith and to mankind. What if individuals and families, following in the footsteps of those who served the 10-year plan, begin rethinking their ways of life by re-examining the assumptions of the current society, reviewing their daily lives, and considering carefully whether they can increase the amount of time available to them to serve the needs of the faith at this time. In this regard, there are questions that only each one of us can answer for ourselves. Do I need to continue working 8 to 12 hours a day to earn an income, or am I in a position to reduce work and find more hours for serving the divine plan? Am I in a situation where I can take leave, whether for a few years, for a year, or even a few months, to devote more time and energy to serving the plan? Am I in a position to settle in a pioneering post for a period of time to meet the needs of the plan? What else should I and can I do before I can say that I am striving to serve Baha'u'llah? To become systematic in our individual teaching efforts, the House of Justice says, it is now imperative for every Baha'i to set for himself individual teaching goals. The admonition of Abdu'l-Baha to lead at least one new soul to the faith each year, and the exhortation of Shoghi Effendi to hold a Baha'i fireside in one's home every Baha'i month. And now, of course, we add to all this the number of core activities that we can have and the number of people from the wider society with whom we can have the community building conversation, are examples of goals that individuals can set for themselves. Many have capacities to do even more, but this alone will assure final and complete victory for the plan. In doing so, we will surely do well to remember the further guidance of the House of Justice, that the purpose of proclamation is to make known to all mankind the fact and general aim of the new revelation, while teaching programs should be planned to confirm individuals from every stratum of society. Abdu'l-Baha told Agnes Alexander this about teaching. He said, "I have a lamp in my hand, searching through the lands and seas to find souls who can become heralds of the cause. Day and night I am engaged in this work." Beloved friends, Shoghi Effendi describes Japan as a country where the faith will spread rapidly once the public becomes acquainted with its universal principles and its dynamic spirit. And in a letter written on his behalf, we read this remark: "The love of the Japanese people for truth and beauty is very great, and our guardian feels sure that gradually many souls will become attracted to the cause of God through your persevering and devoted labor." You are blessed, dear friends, to live and serve in a country that not only is a material paradise, but it is one of the most spiritually fertile lands on this planet. Through your persevering and devoted labors, as promised by Shoghi Effendi, Japan will reach her spiritual destiny, as foretold by Abdu'l-Baha and promised by Shoghi Effendi. Thank you, dear friends, for your patience.